A Fine, Fine School by Sharon Creech and illustrated by Harry Bliss. Mr. King was a principal who loved his school. Every morning he strolled down the hallway and saw children in their classes. He saw them learning shapes and colors and numbers and letters. He saw them reading and writing and drawing and painting. He saw them making dinosaurs and forts and pyramids. Oh, he would say, aren't these fine, fine children? Aren't these fine, fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school? Near Mr. King's school, Tilly lived with her parents and her brother and her dog, Beans, in a small house next to a big tree. On Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. At school, Tilly learned her shapes and colors and numbers and letters. Sometimes, when she saw Mr. King standing in the hallway, he waved. Aren't these fine children, he said to himself, and aren't these fine teachers, and isn't this a fine school? On the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, Tilly climbed her favorite tree. She took Beans on her walks and threw him sticks. It says, I'm stuck, get help. Let's go, Beans. And she pushed her brother on a swing and tried to teach him how to skip. And it says, be one with the skip. But on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. Beans and her brother did not like to see her go. Hurry, hurry home, her brother called. One day, Mr. King called all the students and the teachers together and said, this is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on Saturdays too. The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Saturdays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. King that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers and all of the learning that they were doing every day. And you can see the looks on their faces. They don't look too happy to be going to school on Saturdays. I bet her little brother isn't going to be happy either, because he was sad to see her go 5 days a week. So that Saturday, Tilly set off for school. But it's Saturday. What about the swings, her brother called. And you can see he is upset. The following month, Mr. King announced, this is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on Sundays too. The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Sundays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. King that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers and all of the learning that they were doing every day. And you can see up here, it says, why not study while you chew? He wants them to be learning all the time. I don't know if that would be a very balanced life if you were learning all the time. And so that Sunday, Tilly set off for school. But it's Sunday. What about skipping? Her brother called. And she's missing all this time with her brother and her dog Beans. The following month, Mr. King called everyone together and said, this is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on holidays too. On Easter and Ramadan and Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah. On all the holidays, on every calendar. The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on holidays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. King that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers and all of the learning that they were doing every day. And they definitely don't look happy now. To have school even on weekends and holidays, I'm predicting that they're going to get a little burnt out on school because they're not living a balanced life. They have no time for fun or their families. And so, on Christmas, Tilly set off for school. But it's Christmas. What about Christmas? Her brother called. And see, he's opening presents, and she doesn't look too happy to go either. And even on the TV, it says best cartoons in the world start in 5 minutes. So she's even going to miss the best cartoons in the world. The following month, Mr. King called everyone together and said, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school in the summer too, all summer long, every single day." I definitely think they're not going to be happy about that. That's no time for their family or to do their hobbies. And this chart says time for school, learning, and it says sleeping. So that's all that they're doing is they're going to school and they have time to sleep. That definitely doesn't sound like they're living a balanced life. "How much we will learn," he said. "We can learn everything. We will learn all about numbers and letters and colors and shapes and the Romans and the Egyptians and the Greeks. We will learn about dinosaurs and castles and everything. We will learn everything." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Saturdays and Sundays and holidays and all summer long, every single day, but no one knew how to tell Mr. King that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers and all of the learning that they were doing every day. And you can see the looks on all their faces. They don't look too happy. The only happy face I see is Mr. King's. And so, on the first day of summer, Tilly set off for school. "But it's summer. What about summer?" her brother called. And he has a little pool, and then she has all these little notes that talk about lunch test on July 4th, a huge test on Sunday, the largest test in the entire universe next week. Judging by her sticky notes, it looks like she might be a little overwhelmed. And that day, Tilly went to see Mr. King. She stood in his office in front of his desk. "What a fine, fine school this is," Mr. King said. "What amazing things everyone is learning." "Yes," said Tilly, "and we certainly are learning some amazing things." "A fine, fine school," said Mr. King. But Tilly said, "Not everyone is learning." I wonder how she's going to convince him to go back to only 5 days of school during the week and holidays and summers back off. "What?" Mr. King said. He looked very worried. Who isn't learning? Tell me, and I will see that they learn." "My dog Beans hasn't learned how to sit," Tilly said, "and he hasn't learned how to jump over the creek." "Oh," Mr. King said. "And my little brother hasn't learned how to swing or skip." "Oh," said Mr. Beans. And you can see her brother and Beans. Beans is trying to teach her brother how to swing, and it says, "Wrong way, Beans." "And she said, "But you do go to school," Mr. King said, "to our fine, fine school." "True," Tilly said, "but I haven't learned how to climb very high in my tree, and I haven't learned how to sit in my tree for a whole hour." "Oh," Mr. King said. So maybe he's realizing that some things that you learn, like hobbies and learning different skills, you can't learn at school. You learn at home or with your friends. That day, Mr. King walked up and down the halls, looking at the children and the teachers. Up and down he walked, up and down, up and down. And if we look at all the kids, they look like they're overwhelmed too. Overwhelmed and tired, and it doesn't look like they have a whole lot of time for fun. He's even brushing his teeth at his locker. The next morning, Mr. King called everyone together. The children and the teachers were very worried. Mr. King said, "This is a fine, fine school with fine, fine children and fine, fine teachers, but not everyone is learning." The children and the teachers were very worried because they don't know what he's about to say next, right? When else do they have time to go to school? Mr. King said, "There are dogs who need to learn how to sit and how to jump creeks." What did he mean? What was he going to make their dogs come to school? And then it has a picture of the dog writing sentences on the board. There are little brothers and sisters who need to learn how to swing and how to skip. What did he mean? He was going to make their younger brothers and sisters come to school too? The children and the teachers were very, very, very worried. So they're coming up with all kinds of things that they think he's going to do next. And you, all of you, children and teachers, you need to learn how to climb a tree and sit in it for an hour, said Mr. King. The children and the teachers were very worried. So this is how they're envisioning it. He said, you still have 20 minutes to go. And so from now on, we will. It looks like they're all holding their breath, waiting on him to make his decision. Not to have schools on Saturdays or Sundays or holidays or in the summer. A huge, enormous, roaring cheer soared up to the ceiling and floated out the windows so that everyone in town heard the fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers shout, "Fine, fine, fine." Now they definitely look excited. And the fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers lifted Mr. King up, and they carried him down the hallway and out the doors and through the town, up and down and in and out, and everywhere they went, the people said, what a fine, fine school with such fine, fine teachers and fine, fine children and a fine, fine principal. So by the end of that book, you could see that they were getting more balanced life back. So I know that this is a new experience for everybody. So after reading that book, I want you to think about how much schoolwork are you doing at home? We need to do our schoolwork, but we also need to do things that make us happy and are fun, and so we can spend time with our families. And this is a great opportunity for everybody to become closer and to do things that you love. So Miss Haynes misses you. I'll see you on the next Read Aloud.